So we're working on the 55 Pontiac. And something that drove me nuts with this car from day one is the hood would pop open. He'd run a padlock where he drilled a hole underneath to keep it from opening. But no shake, no movement. Rubbers are adjusted. It works. Let me show you what we found. First off, there's a big trench cut in here just from years of use. And once it goes, if you don't fix it, it just keeps chewing and chewing and chewing. But it also chews the edge off of this. Now, when you shut the hood, this just goes like this, and if that's your safety. This is a hole that he drilled so that he could reach underneath here, and he put a padlock on just so it couldn't come all the way up to this catch alone. But no matter what you did, this, well, now it locks, but it used to just push in freely, so it'd pop into place and it was all wore out. But what had happened is this piece, if I move it, maybe you can see that up there. No, you can't. But if I pull this lever, you see how it goes back. But once that's back, I can do that, right? So this depends on this lever to lock. And when the hood is closed, this would just fall forward and then the hood could pop open. The whole thing is contingent on this spring that I had to add. There was nothing here. So here there's a little mark, and then up here there's a little tab with a hole in it. So I just cut this out of a longer piece of spring, and you know, all it has to do is pull it back. So when this was staying open, up in there, wouldn't lock this. So after I welded that up and shut the hood could come up an inch, but it wouldn't quite come up to this. It'd come up to about here because this was working, but it was so wore out here, there just wasn't enough, and there was some divots in it. So I welded this across with the MIG welder, and then I gave it a quick file. You can't see it on the side, but yeah, the lighting's not awesome, but anyway, that's it. It's good. Had no idea that a spring was supposed to go there. I went to a friend of mine has a private junkyard out here, older guy, and he's got like 56, 57, 58s. None of them had that unit, so it was fix it or live with it. And if you get into something like that, look at it, play with it, think about it. Don't do anything too crazy that you can't undo it, but for the most part, if you think it through, you can probably fix it. And in this case, nothing was wore out except that tab and that piece down low where they were rubbing each other and vibrating probably for years because there was like 2 notches in it that were like wore. But it ain't the prettiest thing, but it works. I mean, I could technically take the latch off now and, you know, grind it smooth and clean it up a bit. But I'm not going to grind too much off because that hood fits really, really well and it locks where it should. Where when I first welded the bottom and not the top, it worked, but the hood would kind of pop up and down. So, you know, you're going to be driving around, it's going to make noise and stuff on you, and that just sucks. Next thing we got to do on this car is this piece it's just sitting in there right now. I've got to weld all those little holes shut, just like we welded the holes up in here and across the front. This used to be super low and crazy. Now it's, you know, it's decent. Fender's going to be okay. I'm going to call that the rough work done because we're still going to have to sand the whole car, and we'll sand that again. And I have a feeling I'm going to high build this whole car and put it on thick and then block it out. But we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Sometimes they turn out pretty good and you don't do everything, and other times it's just easier to do the whole car. Yeah, so there was some dealership thing here. I guess there was little holes in the trunk. There was 2 holes there and 1 hole there. We welded those shut. down in the corner, that was just, I ground that off so that I had a place to weld and the wire was out of the way. We had slices here, just like I showed you on the front. So we welded all those up. Then up in here we had bigger holes. Now, I did a video where I showed how to put copper behind the big holes and fill them. I couldn't do that on the back. We were able to do that with the one, but the rest of them, the holes are small and funny, and you couldn't, they're all offset. You couldn't get at anything. So basically what I had to do there was just put a few beads of weld, join them together, and then, you know, fill them up. So what I did is I filled them up, and the trunk was, how would I explain this? The trunk, over there was a big dent. So let's start there. We didn't know about this big dent. It's like pushed in right in here. And we didn't know about it because this edge was really nice. Didn't seem to have any fill in it. But there was a bunch of weird things happening here with the paint, and it was the filler failing. So we ground all that out till it's pretty much just to nothing again. Like there's no, see what I'm saying? But over here, you can see a little bit of filler. It's not much. But this had been rubbed at some point and it was kind of wavy. So what I did is once I put a few dots in on the side edges, and I went and did them all like that, I went in and started to fill them, and then I'd do one in back, and then I'd kind of fill it up real hot. And what happened is it would come up like a mountain, right? Like a peak. And then I'd count to 3 real quick, say 1, 2, 3, grab my hammer and go, and then spray some water on it, and you could literally watch it suck right into the car. Did all of them. It is straight. It's still not perfect, but it's straight enough. I put a straight edge on it earlier, and it's going to be sweet. Like the filler, I might actually take this little bit of filler off that's already here, because then whatever we put back, it wouldn't be much more than that, and it's going to be nice and smooth. There was a rub and a touch up here. We ground it out. And if you come here, you can see filler again, and there was a spot here, so this must have got a dent. Something hit it or laid on it. But we'll fill that back in. Same with this. This wasn't too bad. Just if you question anything, you got to take it off. And look, if you're doing this at home and you've got lots and lots of time, and hopefully you do, I mean, strip the whole trunk lid off and start over. I don't know that you have to, but it's just insurance that everything you put on is fresh, clean, and new. This side of the car, we're going to go down this line, strip it bare, because there's a patch there and who knows what kind of weirdness. And then right up in here, we don't know why there's filler. I don't think it was failing, but when you go in these holes, you can see that there's like, you know, nothing. And all of a sudden you've got this filler here. And what we thought was rust, well, it turns out that's that fiberglass stuff. And it just, check it out. It can pretty much wipe off. But as soon as you sand it, it's gone. So we'll grind it a bit to chew it up anyway. And now after I strip it, I will, you know, I like to neutralize everything anyway. But I mean, why there's filler up here, it could just be to blend that patch. But it's funny how this patch comes to here and then down, and then right up here there's no filler at all. See what I'm saying? But you can see these little round things when you sand. People say, well, that could have been a little bit of orange. It's not. That's well, it could be, but I don't think so. The car is rough because I think the filler is, there was a body job done before 74 or in 74. Some of that filler is really old and failing. There's been other body jobs done on the car, probably 2 after that, where it was just sort of touched up and repainted and played with. So that needs to come off. It's a one-owner car since 74, so we know where things have been done and where things weren't done. And I mean, that's up to him again. You know, people tell you what they want to do. And I mean, look, I could have just said, no, I'm not doing the car, but you know, it is what it is. You definitely can't warranty something like this if you're not stripping everything off. And even if you do strip everything off and do everything, sometimes, you know, things happen. So anyway, just figured I'd, hadn't done a video in a little while. Thought it would be a good one to do. That hood thing really drove me nuts. Oh, and then another thing, the whole time he owned this car, there was always a rattle in the door. He said sometimes the window would be funny. So what happened was, let's see. I don't know if we can see it. There you go. That's the bottom of the window track, and you can see it's bolted to like a little, it's like a little standoff with 4 feet. So if we come around here, there's welded here, 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 and then there's one under the rubber. But when the factory put those welds, and they're just spot welds, I don't think they hit anything except for the one at the bottom, and there was like a little broken crack, like it tore out, which, you know, it was a teeny tiny little weld. So, you know, it didn't last very long. But he said it had been doing that since the 70s. You know, you get that little rattle, and he goes, and then all of a sudden it got worse, and then he goes, well, you just open the window, and it would go away. So he'd crack the window, and what happens when the window goes down about 2 inches, I think it just puts enough tension on it, or maybe it pulls it away or puts it against the door. But when you have the window closed, and even me moving this car around just in the yard here, you know, there's rubbers missing and stuff like that. So you think things are going to rattle, but there's a rattle in that door, that door that just drives you right nuts. And that's what it was. So basically all I did was find the spot welds. I can probably show those to you on this door, because this is a pretty original door. Yep, there they are. You can see there's those 2 there. The other 2 are probably, one's right here. You can almost see it. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there's 1, 2, 3, and then the other one's right here under this rubber. And basically I found those divots, drilled through them, reached in behind, pushed the plate against it. Well, of course I cleaned the plate a little bit, and then we just went right to the center of the hole onto the plate and just welded it in one shot to pull out a nice big spot. And then hit it with air right away. You know, and if something distorts a little bit in there, you'd never know. So that's where we're at with this guy. Anyway, that's enough for today. Cheers.